Andy Cohen, co-CEO of Gensler, a global architecture and design firm working on sustainable giga projects. Welcome to the COP28 in the UAE, and thank you for joining us at Economy Middle East.
I'm thrilled to be here. This is a fantastic opportunity.
Could you start by giving us an overview of the company?
Sure. Well, first of all, climate action is the business and moral imperative of today. It's the imperative of our times. My firm's vision is to create a better world through the power of design. Every day, millions upon millions of people experience a Gensler design, and that's really, really important. We are a global firm, recognized as one of the most innovative and largest firms around the world. We have offices in 55 cities, we have 6,000 people, and last year we did projects in over 100 countries. So with that, we come today with our strategy for climate change, and that's called the Gensler Cities Climate Action. And with that comes the idea that we are all about creating net zero buildings. What's really interesting that most people don't know is that 40% of all carbon emissions is buildings, more than automobiles and more than industry. So we believe, as the largest and most innovative design firm in the world, that this is an imperative for our firm, that we take action, climate action today.
We hear a lot nowadays about decarbonizing building materials to achieve net zero emissions. What are the approaches to decarbonizing building materials? Could you share some examples of projects related to this?
Of course, we have what's called the Gensler Research Institute. We do a lot of research around the globe, and we're finding that embodied carbon, one of the key issues on materials, building materials, is embodied carbon. And embodied carbon is how materials are made and how they're shipped and that come to the site. And so today, their materials are extremely important. The biggest materials with the most embodied carbon are steel and concrete. So our firm is working on alternative methods with concrete, working with concrete manufacturers, working with steel manufacturers to take down the carbon emissions used to make these products. Or in interiors, it could be carpeting and wall materials. Embodied carbon is the way to reduce those materials. We've also, and energy production. The other thing that we've created is what's called Gensler product materials, specifications. And with that, as the largest architectural firm in the world, we're specifying millions and millions of square feet and square meters of materials. And so we have specifications that make sure that they're green, that they're sustainable, that they're resilient. And in all our projects, we design over 1 billion square feet a year that they're incorporated into our projects.
There seems to be a growing trend of transforming office buildings into residential spaces. What are the challenges here for converting the spaces? And what do you think the impact will be on the real estate market?
Well, transforming office buildings, specifically or buildings, into potentially residential is something that my firm is actively working on right now. We actually, during COVID, created an algorithm that analyzes thousands and thousands of buildings at a time to be able to deliver and create adaptive reuse of older buildings that right now are underutilized, into potentially residential buildings. There are definitely impediments to that. What we're finding in our studies are that only about 10 to 15% of those buildings really work as a conversion. Many of the buildings have big floor plates, the floor-to-floor heights don't work. And so what we're finding is that through our algorithm, through this proprietary algorithm, we're able to study buildings quickly to determine what buildings are most practical to be converted. And we've been working for cities around the globe in developing this strategy for adaptive reuse. And we really believe what's really important is that adaptive reuse is the future for resilience. Not just new buildings, but converting and adapting older buildings and reconverting them for future use.
Technology is transforming many aspects of every industry. In the construction sector, and particularly at Gensler, how are you making use of AI? How do you think technology can be harnessed to achieve sustainability?
Well, AI is already helping our teams around the globe in measuring carbon emissions, measuring our projects to make sure that we're lowering carbon emissions across our net zero portfolio. It's also helping us in our processes. As we create designs, it's allowing our designs team to be much more innovative, looking at different alternatives for project designs. But most importantly, AI, what we're seeing is in the use for autonomous vehicles, because we believe that the future of cities is around the idea of autonomous vehicles, the idea of taking our city streets back for people instead of cars. And so AI combined with AVs, autonomous vehicles, is the future of our cities. Imagine cities where they're completely walkable, where there's no parking structures. Think about it, in the future, we won't need gas stations. There's millions of gas stations around the world in the center of our cities that now could be used for other uses. Green spaces, park spaces, amenity spaces, but not gas stations. Back on parking again, think about all the cities that have street parking that now we can convert to dining spaces and green spaces. So we think AI combined with AVs in the next 5 to 10 years is going to change the face of the cities that we're creating and that exist today.
Gensler has a global presence and has worked on affordable housing projects in many countries around the world. What are some of the key learnings from these projects that can be applied to the Middle East context?
The big strategy that we've developed during COVID is this idea of a 20-minute city. And a 20-minute city means that every amenity is within a walkable distance of 20 minutes. At the heart of it is housing. It's housing, it's shopping, it's retail and restaurants, it's grocery stores, everything within a walkable distance. So we believe there's a complete housing shortage in many cities around the globe. And the idea of creating a 20-minute city where people can come together, that they can connect together in this 20-minute neighborhood, a 20-minute district. Even in large cities around the world, this idea of this 20-minute district really makes sense. And housing, affordable housing, is at the center of that 20-minute city.
Andy Cohen, it's a pleasure to learn more about your work and Gensler's commitment to a more sustainable future. Thank you for your time.